Hey guys. I am here to talk about how we can take what we're reading and kind of take our connections with ourselves and bring that into our reading. So, being able to connect with what we're reading and how what we read or what we connect with may be different than what other people connect with. So, we're going to actually study a poem over the next couple of lessons. And you are all, if you weren't here today, we'll get you a copy of it. But this is definitely I really like this poem. I think it's got a lot of things that we can connect with. So what we're going to do, I'm going to read the poem out loud. And while I do that, you're going to just kind of maybe mentally jot a note to yourself, or maybe look at one or two places where you have a strong response with yourself. So it's either like, oh, this reminds me of, like, gives you a strong thought or a strong feeling. Okay. So this poem is called Shoulders. Okay. And it says, zoom in a little bit for you guys. Maybe, maybe not. A man a man crosses the street in rain, stepping gently, looking 2 times north and south, because his son is asleep on his shoulder. No car must splash him, no car drive too near to his shadow. This man carries the world's most sensitive cargo, but he is not marked. Nowhere does his jacket say fragile, handle with care. His ear fills up with breathing. He hears the hum of a boy's dream deep inside him. We're not going to be able to live in this world if we're not willing to do what he's doing with one another. The road will only be wide. The rain will never stop falling. Okay, so first it's talking about like a dad and how he has his son who's on his arm. And to me, like, I made a connection there with my kids. But then it gets a little deeper. Think here, we're not going to be able to live in this world if we're not willing to do what he's doing with each other. What is he doing with his son? He's protecting him, right? The road will only be wide. The rain will never stop falling. So I'm thinking that's struggle there. There's going to be struggle, right? Let me read it one more time. And as I read it, again, make a mental note. What speaks to you? What do you have a connection with? A man crosses the street in rain, stepping gently, looking 2 times north and south, because his son is asleep on his shoulder. No car must splash him, no car drive too near to his shadow. This man carries the world's most sensitive cargo, but he's not marked. Nowhere does his jacket say fragile, handle with care. His ear fills up with breathing. He hears the hum of a boy's dream deep inside him. We're not going to be able to live in this world if we're not willing to do what he's doing with one another. The road will only be wide. The rain will never stop falling. Okay? So we all react differently to things. You might have heard something differently than what I heard. You might have connected with something differently than I connected with. But that's the important thing about reading, is while we read, we take our personal experiences and connect with books, and that helps us be better readers. Okay? So that's the point today, is we bring our experience to our books, and our books bring experiences to us too. So reading is a deep experience because we are able to connect with it personally and learn from it as well. Okay, so you can learn based on the groups you are in, based on character traits of yourself and the characters in your books, based on histories, experiences that you may have that I may not have, or I may have and you may not have. Reading these books and having those experiences and reading about other people's experiences are going to make a big difference for you. So this is I like this quote. Louise Rosenblatt said, "Books do not simply happen to people. People happen to books. A story or poem or play is merely ink spots on paper until a reader transforms them into a set of meaningful symbols." So meaning it's just words until you read it and you experience it and you learn from it, and you can make your connections with your life or what you need to learn from your life to the characters, to the stories, to the lessons. Okay. So as readers, we need to make sure that we are considering, like, what parts of the book connect with me, right? What parts of my life connect with a particular section of the text? What parts of this book should I apply to my life? What parts of this book do I need to learn about my life? Okay. So the way we do that is we can do this with the poem first, and then you will do this with your book. But if you have the poem and pick a section, first of all, what is it about a group you're in, your character traits, or your personal history that helps you understand this part more deeply? So, what is it about me that helps me understand it deeply? And then, how do your experiences help you see this text or these characters differently than you did before? So, like, if I go back to the poem, this right here, we're not going to be able to live in this world if we're not willing to do what he's doing with one another. That really spoke to me. To me, that is, we're in this together. We need to help each other out, right? And so, looking at experiences, like, there's been moments in our lives when we really need people. There was a moment in my life a couple years ago. There was just a lot going on, and we really needed to rely on our family to help us. And I'm thinking about that, and I'm thinking about I would not have been able to do what I did. I would not have been able to go through what I did without somebody taking care of me and carrying me through the rough spots, right? So to me, taking that made this poem deeper to me. It made a stronger connection to me. And that I think is going to help. It helped me understand the poem better and enjoy the poem more. Okay. So seeing that, maybe you would have seen that in a different way. Maybe you would have seen just focusing on the dad and how the dad took care of the kiddo, picked a different section. Regardless, having our own experiences and making our connections to our books is what really makes reading a good experience, right? So we're not going to have you add this to your notebook today unless you want to. But the final couple lessons of this unit is the idea of like connecting your life to your reading. Okay. So like when you, right here, these two goals. So like the first thing is if there's a part that's powerful to you, connect to it. Why is this powerful to me? Ask yourself, what in my life makes this important to me? And then after you connect it to your life, go back to the text and you're going to understand the story a little bit better. You're going to understand what the characters are going to go through a little bit better. You're going to understand what's going on in the story a little bit better. You're going to understand the themes better and things like that. So having those connections is really going to help you understand your stories. Okay. So here's what's going to happen today. We're going to spend some time reading. And as you read, you are going to, first of all, think about groups that people are in. Think about power imbalances. So who has power, who doesn't have power, how do they feel when they don't have power? Think about relationships that characters have. Think about how those relationships may remind you of relationships that you have or relationships that you've seen in others. And then read with yourself in mind. Read by making connections, right? Bring meaning to those words on the page. Okay. So as you read, we want you to write down some notes. How does this connect to you? How does it help you understand your story more deeply? Okay. As always, feel free to email us if you have any questions, and happy reading. Thanks.